Good evening, everyone. I extend a warm welcome to all of you on behalf of the Academy in this webinar on the strategy for mains examination for UPSC Civil Service Examination. This is the second webinar in the series. The first one was delivered by Honorable Tukaram Jadhav sir, Director of the Academy. Today we would focus on the second part of the examination, that is mains examination, which is absolutely crucial given the fact that carries a lot of marks, that is 1750 in total, which are counted for the ultimate merit list that we see. Before I begin, I would like to talk about what all things we are going to discuss today and what would be our emphasis. I hope everybody is able to see the screen. So this is what we shall discuss today. Pardon me. Structure of UPSC examination. We'll briefly talk about it, considering that all of us are beginners, right? So I would quickly talk about structure of the examination. That way everybody knows it, but I would like to go through it once. Then I would talk about how to choose optional subject. What are the criteria? That's one confusing question that everyone faces while starting preparation for this examination. Which optional subject to choose from the given list by UPSC? Then this would be our main focus in webinar today, that is UPSC mains. First, we'll talk about syllabus because it's very important to know syllabus and then only we can move forward. Second, we'll talk about strategy for the mains examination, right? Third, we talk about sample previous year questions briefly in order to know the nature of questions, not to know the answers as such, because ultimately after completing the full preparation, then only we can talk about answers. It's more about knowing the nature of questions. We will talk about the approach, right? How to go about this examination. And in that, I would also talk about planning as well, right? Part of approach, I will talk about planning as well. How to plan for the upcoming examination. We are launching batch on 1st of December this year with an eye on UPSC 2022, right? So I would talk about what kind of planning we can really think of, which is an indicative plan. Please understand, which is an indicative, suggestive plan. You can modify that on your own based on your level of preparation. And then ultimately, I will talk about the unique way. It's nothing but what we do as part of a batch in Unique Academy. All right, that's the scheme of this webinar today. These are the points we'll discuss, and I'm repeating this again. The initial couple of points will be brief, and then I will focus on the mains part. Let's begin then with structure of the examination. Everyone knows that actually there are 3 stages, but going by UPSC notification, the examination is conducted in 2 stages. One is the preliminary examination. Second is mains examination. And mains examination has got 2 sub-steps. One is written examination, all right? And other is personality test, or it is called interview in common parlance. So preliminary examination is a screening test, all right? The marks of which are not really considered for the final ranking. It is screening in the sense those people who qualify in preliminary examination, they are allowed to sit in the mains examination. That is the only purpose of preliminary examination. Otherwise, the marks scored are not considered in the final list, merit list. The second part, that is mains examination, is subdivided into 2 parts. One, written examination, which is the real challenge in the sense it carries a lot of weightage. That is 1,750 marks. And then personality test carries 275 marks. So 1750 and 275. These are the marks which are considered for the final merit list. It is important to understand the structure of the examination before we go ahead with different other aspects of this examination. So clearly in front of you, first stage, preliminary examination. Second stage, mains examination. Within second stage, something that we are going to discuss in detail today, written examination and personality test. All right, that is interview. So we will talk about these 2 today with a major focus on this written examination, all right, and how to plan about it. Okay. Now, a little bit in detail, in order to understand what this examination consists of structurally. First, let us talk about preliminary examination. There are 2 papers for 200 marks each. Paper 1, General Studies Paper 1, and General Studies paper 2, which is called CSAT, Civil Services Aptitude Test, right? So both these papers are of 200 marks each. In paper 2, you are supposed to score only the qualifying marks, all right? So you're supposed to score only qualifying marks. Your paper first would be checked first. Once you cross the barrier, all right, and then out of 200, 33% is something that you are supposed to score. That comes somewhere around 67. All right. If your marks are more than 67, then you're qualified for checking your paper 1. Please understand this. This is the internal mechanism. So paper 2 must be qualified first, then only your paper 1 is checked. Right. So those who qualify paper 2 by scoring more than 33%, their paper 1 is checked. And now the All India cutoff is decided based on the scores of candidates in General Studies paper 1. Right. It was last year 98. Right. Out of 298 marks was the cutoff. Anybody who has more than that, they qualify for the mains examination. So clearly, General Studies paper 1 decides whether you qualify or not. But at the same time, we have to keep in mind that this paper is also very important. You have to score bare minimum marks which UPSC expects, that is 33%. Right. So all the questions in these two papers are of this type, objective type, multiple choice questions. MCQs, so-called, right? Multiple choice questions. So there is a question and there are options given, 4 options, and you have to choose the most correct of the 4 options given. All right. There is 1/3 negative marks for each incorrect answer. So random guess is not allowed. It is not encouraged. You are not supposed to do that. Otherwise, you will end up marking more negative number of questions, and that will really cut down your final score. So there's 1/3 negative marks in preliminary examination. Then, as far as CSAT is concerned, that is paper 2, it is only qualifying. I talked about it. All right. So marks obtained in general paper 1, general studies paper 1 are counted for the cutoff. So that's the nature of preliminary examination briefly. Okay. Mains examination, now pay attention. This is what we are going to discuss in detail today. As I said earlier, mains examination has got 2 parts again. One, written examination, right? Conventional type of writing, essay type questions you are supposed to write. Essay type, as in not essay, but in paragraph format. So written examination and then personality test. These are 2 distinct parts of mains examination. Let us talk about first the structure of written examination in the mains examination. There are 9 papers of conventional type. 9 papers. Why conventional? Because this is an examination where you're supposed to write answer the way we do in say, for example, 10th examination or 12th examinations, where you write your answers in paragraph format. So that is a conventional type. MCQ is different and conventional type is different. So 9 papers. In that, of the 9 papers, 7 papers are counted for the merit list. There are 2 papers, language papers, which are qualifying. I will talk about them. Wait for a moment. So 7 papers counted for the merit list. Which are those papers? You can see that on screen. General Studies paper 1, 2, 3, 4. Carrying 250 marks each. All right. So General Studies paper 1, 2, 3, 4. They collectively constitute 1,000 marks. It's a bigger chunk, please understand. They constitute 1,000 marks. GS paper 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you have to choose one optional subject from the given list, right? And there are 2 papers of 250 marks each on your chosen optional subject. So you may choose any optional subject like economics, history, or geography, or political science, like that, anthropology, etc. So when you choose one optional subject, there will be 2 papers, paper 1 and paper 2, each carrying 250 marks. So optional subject in total carries 500 marks. So 1,000 GS papers, 1,000 marks, 500 marks optional paper of your choice. And then there's a paper of essay, right, which carries again 250 marks, which is divided into 2 sections. You are supposed to write 2 essays. So these are 7 papers, very, very important. Please understand, very, very important. Once you qualify for the mains examination, this is where your ultimate rank is decided. No doubt about it that personality test carries 275 marks. It would really help you enhance your ranking once you are done with the written examination. But again, this chunk carries, very important portion, that is 750 marks. And that's why, this stage of the examination is very crucial. Right, okay. So these are the 7 papers counted for the merit list. There are 2 qualifying papers, which are actually language papers. You can see that on your screen. Uh, Indian language and English language. You can choose any language of your choice from the given list. All right. So people from Maharashtra may choose Marathi, people from Karnataka may choose Kannada, people from Telangana may choose Tamil, from Tamil Nadu, uh, Tamil, sorry, and Telangana, and then Andhra Pradesh. Depends. Gujarat, say Gujarati choose karenge log. So it depends. Your regional language you can choose. So Telugu, Tamil, Malayalam, different language which are there. Hindi as well, for that matter. So Marathi, Hindi, Kannada, Telugu, Tamil, etc. And this is compulsory for everybody. Here you have a choice. You can choose language of your region, language in which you are comfortable, either Hindi or any other region language. And this is compulsory, English language. Right? So there are 300 marks for each language paper. There are two qualifying papers, and you are supposed to score only 75 marks out of those 300. So it's qualifying again. So like prelim structure, in which I said that CSAT paper requires you to qualify first, right? Then only paper one is checked as far as prelims is concerned. Here as well, out of the 9 papers, these 2 conventional papers are also important, because if you score more than 75 marks in each of those language papers, then only your 7 papers are checked, which are counted for the merit list. That means if you fail to score 75 or more than that, that means your other 7 papers would not be checked at all. Please understand that. So you won't be able to know your marks in those papers. All right. So you are disqualified in the language papers themselves. So these papers also carry some importance, because that qualifying barrier you have to cross. Right. And nothing great about this, Indian language and English language. These papers have hardness level of 10th or 12th standard, where we deal with language papers. So if you are able to score 75 marks out of 300 in those type of papers, that is good enough. If you have some kind of doubt in your mind, you can pick any previous year question paper as far as Indian language and English language is concerned. You can solve that and get it checked, so that you are relieved of this pressure. But it's very simple task. You can just write one paper and get it checked. Just you have to ensure that you score more than 75. That's it. This should not be part of preparation as such. This should be only, kind of a surety to your mind that you can really score good marks in language. But at the same time, you have to understand this is qualifying, and unless you qualify this, other papers are not checked. So certain level of proficiency in language is required. You should know at least couple of language in a, I would say, good way. I won't say excellent as such. Good language which can really help you express yourself. That is enough. Okay. Then personality test. That is the second sub stage of mains examination. Personality test. It carries 275 marks. Right. See, uh, it is called interview, and I have picked up the statement from UPSC notification directly. You can see it here. UPSC clearly says this. What they intend to do through personality test. See, understand this. They call it personality test. They did not call it interview as such. Personality test. It means they want to judge the personality of the candidate for the job. Ultimately, we are applying for the job. Please understand this. Okay. So to judge the suitability of candidate for public service. Public service. Try to understand this. Because ultimately, this is a commission which recruits people for the public service. Administration works for the public. So that kind of aptitude you are supposed to have. That aptitude is checked in CSAT, because in CSAT, that is not a general aptitude. They check the administrative aptitude. And even in mains examination, written and personality, they check the suitability of candidate for the public service. Explicitly, that is done in the interview or the personality test, which carries 275 marks. All right, please understand this. So 1750 marks of the written examination and 275 marks of personality test. I think it doesn't require any more elaboration that written examination is very, very important. It carries largest chunk of marks, and then personality test will help you fine tune your ultimate rank in the merit list. All right, that's the structure of this examination. So prelim as well as mains, simplified in a simplified manner. Now, having understood that you are supposed to choose one subject as your optional subject from the given list. All right. Uh, Many times, for students, it's difficult to really decide the optional subject. They may get confused in one, two, three, four optional subjects, or they may be clueless as to what optional subject they are supposed to choose. There are certain criteria that you can really employ in order to narrow down onto one single subject. All right. So you can see that on your screen. There are four criteria that you can really take into consideration. First is interest in a particular subject. See, when you choose optional subject, you must have interest in that subject because this is one area of preparation as far as UPSC civil services examination is concerned, where you are supposed to really study the subject in an in-depth manner. So optional subject requires in-depth study. General studies, see the name itself suggests it is general. It is general, right? And in case of optional, you are supposed to study that subject in depth. And the questions also vary. The questions of optional are different, questions of general studies are different. Please understand this. Hmm? So the first thing that you should look for, whether you have interest in that subject, because you're going to study that subject in depth and for a longer period of time, at least 1.5 year, 2 years, 3 years, you should have interest in that subject. All right. So first is interest that matters the most. Second, syllabus of the optional subject, very important again. Many times it so happens that we may have superficial interest. We may have superficial interest in a particular subject. For example, people think that they have interest in politics. I know many people in India have interest in politics, but politics is different. It's a process. And the subject that we have for UPSC is political science and international relations. Political science and international relations. You need to understand that political science and international relations, popularly called PSIR, contains a lot of theory. People tend to choose this subject because it is related to politics, and then they realize later on when they go through the syllabus that there is a lot of theory and it requires a lot of critical thinking. So that is where they may lose the interest. Those who are interested, they will continue. But those who don't have interest, they may face a lot of problems. Second example, say, in case of economics, some people feel that they can really go for economics as optional subject. But the moment they go through the syllabus, they understand that there is mathematics as well that you're supposed to understand. So that is where some persons may lose interest. So prima facie, when you think that you have interest in a subject, the second thing you are supposed to do immediately is to go through the syllabus of that subject in detailed manner. And where do you get the syllabus? From the UPSC website, from the notification. All right. So go through the syllabus. That is second criteria that would maybe help you narrow down certain subjects. Then previous year question papers. Sometimes you may feel like syllabus are so good, I can do this, but just visit previous year question papers, maybe of 2, 3, 4, 5 years. That will give you a fair idea of what kind of questions are coming, and you may decide your comfort level. You're not supposed to answer those questions. Again, please understand. You are supposed to understand the nature of questions. All right. If you're not able to understand the nature of question, you can consult somebody, right? And you can decide whether you are comfortable in that paper or not. So third criteria is to really go through previous year question papers. Number 4, look for availability of guidance. Please understand this. Uh, I know there are many people who say that they never required guidance, or uh, they could prepare on their own. That's fair enough, appreciable. But at the same time, please understand that at least for the test series purpose, when you write a test, because ultimately, see, understand, this is a written examination, means examination, where you have to undergo rigorous answer writing sessions. And when you do the answer writing, pay attention, when you do the answer writing, right, there has to be somebody who can evaluate that at the level of UPSC, evaluation of answers, to get the critical feedback, to really understand what is missing in the answers. And if that missing part is told to you clearly in the feedback, you can really increase your score in the final examination. So you cannot be judge of yourself. Understand this. Okay. So availability of guidance is very important. All right. People who choose mathematics, they really face a lot of hurdles in terms of finding some kind of guidance in that subject. All right. So always keep this in mind. Do you have any kind of source of guidance for an optional subject? So these are four criteria with which you can decide optional subject. And even after doing all these things, if the confusion persists, you can really consult somebody, all right, who is into this field. So this is about optional subject. Let's move forward now. So these are the optional subjects taught at the Academy. You have list in front of you. I would wait for a couple of seconds here. Political science and international relations, PSIR, history, geography, public administration, sociology, economics, anthropology, agriculture. So this is a list of optional subjects taught at the Academy. Now let us talk about syllabus briefly. Please understand, I cannot talk about the syllabus of optional subject because that varies from person to person. There are a number of optional subject in the list of UPSC. So I won't do that, but I would talk about that part of syllabus which is common to all, that is general studies, all right, and even essay for that matter. So UPSC mains syllabus, as I said while discussing the structure of the examination, there are 4 papers: GS paper 1, 2, 3, 4. Let us talk about the syllabus briefly. Please understand, briefly. I'm not listing each and every sentence of the syllabus. You would get the idea of it. You can go through the syllabus in detail later on. All right. So GS paper 1 consists of Indian heritage and culture. Indian heritage and culture. Please understand. History and geography of the world society. Please understand this. Indian heritage and culture. So there is part of Indian heritage and culture which includes art forms, different art forms, architecture and literature. Different art forms, architecture and literature. So that is what we call Indian heritage and culture. All right. Then history of India. Right? When we say history of India, what all things are included in terms of art and culture? Ancient, medieval, modern, all three. All right. Then modern history in detail with a emphasis on Indian national movement, right? And then there is a component of post-independence India, history of post-independence India, and world history, modern world history particularly. In case of geography, again, there is Indian geography and geography of the world. And there is another important component, that is society or social issues. So you need to develop understanding of Indian society, that is one, and the peculiar social issues faced by Indian society. So you may attract questions based on these areas as far as society is concerned in GS paper 1. So precisely, GS paper 1 consists of 3 areas, 3 broad areas. One is history, second is geography, third is society. So within history, again, art and culture or heritage and culture, right? So modern history, post-independence history, and history of modern world. Geography, Indian geography and world geography, right? Society, the nature of Indian society and social issues faced by Indian society. That is paper 1 of general studies. Paper 2 consists of, again, different topics. You can see that on the screen. So governance, constitution, polity, social justice, and international relations. Please understand, this is again a vast syllabus where you have to understand what is governance, right? And how it really happens in India. What is Constitution of India? So different aspects of the Constitution of India, right? The entire polity of India, that means the political system of India. Then social justice. What is the difference between this governance and polity? So this structure and this actual engineering. This is anatomy, anatomy. This actual working of that structure. So governance. So here you would attract questions on different issues faced by Indian political system and different solutions devised by Indian political system in governance. That means it will talk about different policies of the government on different issues, like for example, issues faced by the urban centers, urbanization, issues faced by Indian society in terms of poverty, unemployment, and different other things. So policies of the government will come here and how government really functions, right? It will also include certain things like, for example, judicial activism, how judiciary functions. So governance is different. Maybe the performance of Indian Parliament. So such type of things will come in governance. Polity is the structural part. What kind of governmental structure we have, political structure we have at the central level, at the state level, and even at the local level, panchayat raj. Constitution is a document which provides the framework for both polity and governance, right? And this is also important, social justice. So what are we really going to understand in this topic in paper 2? It is not about sociology here, right? Social justice to be ensured by governance, right? Social justice to be ensured by governance. So different topics would come there in terms of those topics which are important from the perspective of lawmaking, policy making. Okay. Then there is component of international relations, which is precisely the foreign policy of India. It is not per se international relations. That's quite a big word, but it more concerns with the foreign policy of India, with our neighboring countries, with different important powers in the world, with different important bodies like European Union, ASEAN, and international organizations like UNO, or recently WHO is in news, WTO for that matter, World Bank, IMF. So, uh, what we see in international relations component of GS paper 2 is precisely Indian foreign policy as regard different important aspects of international relations. So it is about Indian foreign policy. So this is what paper 2 contains. Paper 3 is a mixed bag. There are a lot of topics in paper 3. You can see technology, economic development, biodiversity, environment, security, disaster management, agriculture for that matter. Within that, cropping patterns in India, right? So it's a mixed bag. There are different topics, numerous topics rather. So major chunk is this economic development, economics, you can say, and then technology and different other subjects, agriculture, biodiversity, environment ecology, right? Internal security of India, disaster management. So diverse topics in paper 3. And there's a lot of current content. If you look at this too, there's a lot of current content. There is a current content here as well, in terms of certain geographical things happening around us, plus the social issue that we see, right? That's current aspect here, but more current we attract in GS paper 2 and paper 3. GS paper 4 is a new addition since 2013. There was a time before 2013, this subject, which is called ethics, integrity, and aptitude. This was taught in the training sessions to different officers. It was part of the training, but now the DOPT, Department of Personnel and Training, has decided that they would check the candidates on this parameter as well. The public administrator has to be honest, ethical, right, integral. That's why we have paper 4, in which, again, as far as ethics, integrity is concerned, you'll be asked questions on basic concepts as regard these topics and different theories, important theories, right? As far as ethics and integrity is concerned, philosophies rather, ethical philosophies. And that aptitude part is nothing but the case studies. You'll be asked certain case studies and what you would do in that case. So aptitude. So both the things are checked. Ethics, integrity, your theoretical knowledge, and even your aptitude when it comes to dealing with certain situations. So this is the main syllabus as far as general studies papers are concerned, which constitute 1,000 marks. We have talked about it. Now, essay. See, there is no specific syllabus for essay. Please understand, UPSC has not specified any kind of syllabus for essay. But right now we talked about different subjects covered in GS papers. If you keenly look at those different subjects, hardly any topic is left out. All right. And if any topic is left out, that will be covered by current affairs section. So you don't need any different kind of syllabus for essay. If you study properly for the mains examination, covering both the static portion of the syllabus as well as dynamic, that is current affairs, dynamic portion, you are good to go for essay, right? That gives you content of essay. Try to understand this. Okay. Now, what is the expectation of UPSC as far as this paper is concerned? Essay paper. Let us look at that. Again, I have directly picked up this statement from UPSC notification, because UPSC notification tells us what are the expectations of commission in general, and I have picked up these statements from UPSC notification purposefully in order to make you understand what UPSC expects from an essay that you write in this paper. Okay. couple of essays rather. First, candidates will be required to write 2 essays on specific topics from 2 sections. The choice of subjects will be given. So clearly, there are 2 sections, right? And you have to choose one topic from each section. So one topic from section 1 and another topic from section 2. You have to write 2 essays of 125 marks each, right? You are given choice of subjects. 4 to 5 choices are given. You have to pick one of them, right? So out of eight choices, 2 maybe. Okay. Then this is very important. The second part of the expectation. What commission expects from essay? They'll be expected to keep closely to the subject of the essay. Please understand this. I'm stopping here for a moment. They'll be expected to keep closely to the subject of essay. And this expectation of the commission is not only in case of essay, it is also in case of answer writing for GS and optional. When a question comes, you are supposed to keep closely to what has been asked. जो पूछा गया है उसके ऊपर focus होना चाहिए. And what has been asked, that should be dealt in the entire answer. Because you know something, you want to put it there, which is not related. That won't work. So you have to keep closely. You should emphasize on this. Keep closely to the subject of the essay. So keep closely to the subject of the question for other papers, right? What it means is, whatever is asked, you should write around that topic only. That's first expectation. Second, to arrange their ideas in orderly fashion. That means your ideas on the given topic should not be scattered. पहले कुछ लिखा फिर बाद में कुछ और लिखा. You write something in one paragraph, the second paragraph has something else, and there's no connect between those 2 paragraphs. That is something which is not expected. It will not fetch good marks for you. There has to be a logical flow from the introductory para up to the conclusion. The structure of the essay must be coherent, logical. That is what commission expects, right? I'm not talking about what I think, right? I'm talking about what commission expects, what UPSC expects. Please pay attention. So keep closely to the subject of the essay, and your entire essay must be organized in an orderly fashion, right? In a logical fashion, logical manner. Third, to write concisely. Write concisely. That means you're dealing with a topic, right? And you have to write about it concisely. Generally what happens, I tell you, when a candidate lacks substance on a particular subject, right? If you're given a subject and you don't have much substance, you don't have much information about it, you tend to write in a very loose manner. You tend to write on a particular point with more elaboration, more than what is required. And that becomes very vague. It becomes absolutely vague. And that is where you lose marks. Okay, let me tell you clearly this, right now I'm checking papers of UPSC mains candidates, they're appearing for this examination in the month of January. The most prominent thing that I feel in almost all the papers of all the candidates, they lack the substance, and that's why they go on writing something which is not related to what is asked. Core demand of the essay here, core demand of the question, candidates generally deviate from that because they lack the content. If you have enough content, it becomes concise. Understand? So one requirement to write concisely is to have enough content. Second requirement, effective articulation. Right? Understand? Effective articulation. Iska matlab kya? What is the meaning of this? It means whatever you want to convey, you should be able to convey in an effective manner, simple manner. That doesn't require you to make your language flowery. That doesn't require you to bring the jargon into the writing. Keep it simple, keep it effective. You want to say something that should be clear in the sentence. So sentence construction has to be effective and simple, not flowery one. Something which is not filled up with jargon, very heavy words, not required. Keep it simple and convey the effective meaning. That is concise writing. So 2 aspects of concise writing. One is the content, which is very important. Please understand this. If you don't have content, your entire writing becomes, very vague and not concise. So content is the primary requirement. Second, is the effective articulation. I'm not saying effective language. Language is important, no doubt, but a simple language can also be effective. So articulation matters. How you put things, that really matters. So yes, three aspects clearly outlined by UPSC. Number one, keep closely to the subject. Number two, arrange your ideas in an orderly fashion. Right. Number three, write concisely. Do not write in a vague manner. Right. So this is the expectation of the commission from any writing that you do, whether in essay or in different other papers of mains examination. Right. Okay. And the last thing, credit will be given for effective and exact expression. So this is what I was talking about. Effective and exact expression. Exactly what you want to convey. That has to be clear. Right. Many times people try to bring certain extra thing in the answer in order to make an impact. Some people bring quotations. Some people put the name of a scholar, right, and underline that. But they're not able to really explain what that scholar had to say. That means you wanted to bring that scholar in your answer just to impress the evaluator, but you don't know fully about that person or that scholar. That's a disaster. Understand this? Or they write something which even a sensible person is not able to understand. You make your sentences complicated unnecessarily. So that is not exact and effective expression. That is complex expression, vague expression, something that doesn't convey a clear meaning. So this entire sentence, you can see here a couple of sentences from the UPSC notification, can tell you a lot about what you're supposed to do while writing mains examination. Please understand. Simply put, I'm telling you, simply put, these are two sentences which really sum up the expectations of commission as far as what you write in the mains examination. Keep in mind this thing always. What is the expectation of the examination? If you understand this, you will understand what kind of approach we are supposed to have. So I want to keep this in mind. Keep this in mind when I go to that slide where I explain what kind of approach we are supposed to really adopt. Approach kya hona chahiye? Wahan pe I would talk about this again. All right. Okay. So yes, this is the expectation of the commission from the essay particularly, and in general, even about different answers that you write in 4 papers of general studies and even of the optional papers. Now, having understood the structure of mains examination, having understood the syllabus, right, having understood the expectations of the commission, let us now talk about the strategy for this examination that is there in front of you. Whatever I said so far, it is based on UPSC's notification that comes every year, published by UPSC every year, right, declaring the examination. So from that, we can try and understand what are the expectations of the commission. And our strategy must be congruent with, must be consistent with the expectations of the commission. Commission kya chahta? What commission expects? That is to be understood first, and then only you can talk about strategy. Both the things are there in front of you. What are the expectations of the commission? See, you can see it here. Ability to comprehend rapidly. Ability to think comprehensively, to make decisions in short span of time. And third, ability of precise articulation in short span of time. Now, this is not from notification. This is what I thought, UPSC expects. Why? I'll tell you. See, you're not supposed to accept things because I am saying it. Understand this. We know there are 20 questions to be solved in 3 hours in GS paper 1, paper 2, paper 3, paper 4, right? Okay. And around same number of questions in optional subjects. Now see, if you look at those 20 questions from the perspective how much time those 20 questions have, hardly you can say, see, 3 hours is 180 minutes and 20 questions, so 9 minutes, right? So please understand this. So you get 9 minutes for each question. And in those 9 minutes, what you're supposed to do, see, if you want to revise what you have written at the end of the exam, that paper, then you have to keep again another 15 minutes. I'm not taking that into consideration right now. I'm barely telling you that you need 9 minutes. You have 9 minutes for dealing one question at a time. So out of those 9 minutes, you have to read the question, understand the question, What is the core demand of the question? What are different parts of that question? How am I supposed to organize my answer? Right? So what is required? Ability to comprehend rapidly. The moment question is in front of you, you're reading it, you should be able to understand this and understand it as early as possible. Because we are running short of time. That's the clear picture that we have in the mains examination hall. Please understand this. Yeah, I'm saying this not because I want to make it complicated. No, not at all. There are 20 questions. You are supposed to answer all 20 of them. All questions are compulsory, right? So 9 minutes, comprehend question as early as possible. Second, to think comprehensively and to make decision in short span of time. Many times questions are such that they cover different dimensions of a particular topic, right? There, you have to think comprehensively. Say, for example, question comes on globalization, right? And it requires you to understand different dimensions of globalization, like economic dimension, right? Social dimension, political dimension, cultural dimension, environmental dimension. So, questions are multi-dimensional, multidisciplinary, because these are all different subjects. Economics alag subject hai, politics, political science, sociology, environmental science, ecology, right? So these are all different subjects. So you have to think in multidisciplinary manner, right? It's not just about globalization. Say, for example, poverty. Poverty is economic concept. We know that very well. And poverty has got social angle, social aspect. Poverty has got political aspect, because ultimately it is the political system that would deal with poverty or the eradication of poverty. So poverty has got social, economic, uh, and political dimensions. Along with that, even geographical dimensions. We know that certain areas of India are more poor. There is more widespread poverty. Then the question arises, why? Why there is some kind of geographical dimension to it? So try to understand. Things are multidimensional, and you have to think comprehensively. When you look at the question, what all different dimensions you can think of? And then you have to make decisions in short span of time. What would be my introduction? What would be the main content, right? And how would I organize those points in the main content? And what would be my conclusion? Are you getting this? So it requires the ability to think comprehensively, bringing in all the aspects. Second, to make decisions in short span of time. Hmm? Once you do this, when you write the final answer, right? So you read the question, you understood the question, you thought comprehensively on what is asked, you gathered all the information that you know, right? You decided how to really arrange that, and then you get down to writing. And when you write, this third ability comes into picture. What is that? Of precise articulation in short span of time. Again, right? 2 minutes gone. So hardly 6 to 7 minutes remaining. You have to write an answer for 150 words, 250 words, right? So that requires what? Precise articulation. In 150 words, you should be able to convey what UPSC expects. So precise articulation. That's why I said, when I was discussing about expectations of the commission from the essay, I said that is applicable to all the answers. UPSC itself tells you that you are supposed to write concisely, keeping close to the subject. So that applies here, right? So these are the abilities that we are supposed to have, or rather, commission expects. Now you can link this to administration. We're applying for a job ultimately, right? We're applying for a job. So what kind of job we are applying for? What is its nature? Right? You know that there are no predefined problems that administration faces. They face new problems every time. Right? It's a very dynamic job where you have to really take decisions quickly. Somewhere, for example, there is some kind of riot going on. You cannot say I would study riot in my study room first. No, you have to go and confront that. You have to go and really solve that issue. Are you getting this? So it requires what? All these things. Comprehend rapidly. Comprehend the situation rapidly. As an IAS officer, as an IPS officer, as an IFS officer, comprehend the situation rapidly. Think comprehensively. Make decisions in short span of time. And you should be precise in your articulation. When you come up with a solution, you're supposed to articulate that solution, express that in front of your subordinates, your colleagues, and you have to report to your superiors as well. That is your job. So UPSC expectations of the commission are no different than what you are expected to do in that job. So it is in sync with that. So examination is designed, considering what kind of job that person or candidate is supposed to do later on. So these are the abilities that commission expects. Now, keeping in mind these expectations, let us talk about the strategy or plan of action. What you're supposed to do as part of your preparation, right? So first, you can look at here, knowledge-oriented study within framework of syllabus clearly. Why I'll tell you, if you do not adopt this approach, knowledge-oriented, and if you go information-oriented, information readily evaporates. It readily evaporates. If you understand something thoroughly, right, that is where you tend to remember that for a long time. What is knowledge ultimately? See, simply put, facts and figures is called data. Facts and figures is called data. When you process data, that becomes information. That becomes information. When you process information, that becomes knowledge. So knowledge is that stage where you understand something thoroughly and you can give examples of it. That is knowledge. So this remains with you for a longer time. That's why knowledge-oriented study, but again, within the framework of syllabus. You should not deviate from the syllabus. Because you want to have that knowledge-oriented study, you would go in detail, unnecessary details rather, of a particular topic. That is a deviation. You're not supposed to do that. Always remain within the confines of syllabus. You should not go out of the framework of syllabus. That is always to be kept in mind. All right. Second, conscious and incessant efforts. Conscious, knowing efforts. Knowing effort, conscious efforts. Incessant means what? Continuous efforts with consistency to use this knowledge in order to expand horizons of your thinking. Why? Because see, again, somebody may feel that you're unnecessarily making these things complicated. No. What type of questions UPSC asks? Critically evaluate, critically examine, comment. सवाल किस टाइप के हैं? Looking at those things, I have come up with this. So the questions in UPSC make you think, make you comment on something. Okay, does that mean you're supposed to become thinker, scholar? No, not at all. Then what you're supposed to do? Inculcate that habit of looking at a particular question in such a manner that after acquiring some knowledge, how would you really look at it? Okay. From where you can learn this? From the books, from different articles by the scholars that appear in different important newspapers, which is again part of your current affairs study, different magazines. So different scholars on a particular subject, they write articles. Look at how they write, how they look at the things, right? So you can borrow their ideas, you can borrow their views and put in your answers. But it should appear like you are writing and then you quote that person, right? Just to tell, okay, this person has underlined this. This will make an impact. Merely saying that so-and-so person said this and then going to some different point, that means you have only by-hearted that sentence. You have put that discreetly in the answer and you have no arguments of your own. So that becomes very mechanical. That answer becomes very mechanical and you will end up getting less marks. So there has to be some habit of reflecting on what you are reading. Whatever you are reading, uske upar tumhara view kya hai? What is your view? And that should develop gradually at the last stage of the examination. I am going to talk about the plan, right? Planning jisko bolte hain, study ka. So I will talk about the plan of the study. Don't worry about that in this webinar itself. But try to understand this. We have to reach that stage ultimately where you can at least have some kind of opinion on different topics. And you can do this easily, provided you learn basics of any subject properly, provided you read at least one reference book thoroughly, and provided you are in habit of reading different articles from newspapers. These three things precisely would take care of this second point. Conscious, incessant effort means this, doing what I said right now, three things to use the knowledge that we gain from these three sources and apply that in order to expand our thinking horizon, I would say, ability. Okay. Third, to augment the ability to apply the knowledge and thoughts so gained. Ultimately, please understand, keep in mind one thing throughout this journey of UPSC preparation. What is that? Whatever knowledge you are gaining, you should have always one thing in your mind going on. What is that? Whatever I'm learning, I would use this in the answers. क्योंकि ultimately उसका application करना है ना, you have to apply that somewhere, and that is in the examination. When you write something, whatever you have read, whatever you have understood from different sources, basic books, reference books, and current affairs sources, that has to come in your answers. So apply that. Whatever you have learned, apply that. Then only your answer becomes rich. What the point? So this is what you are supposed to do in terms of strategy. So that, whatever preparation you did would reflect in your answers ultimately if you go this way. All right, okay. Now, why I talked about those points. I'm showing you the previous slide again. What I said here, knowledge-oriented study, right? Conscious insight efforts to use the knowledge, right? And then apply the knowledge and thoughts so gain. Let us look at some of the questions why we are supposed to do this kind of study, right? I have picked up one sample question from different papers, right? You can see essay, section A and B, GS paper 1, GS paper 2, GS paper 3. Essay, you can see the topic here. Values are not what humanity is, but what humanity ought to be. Now understand this. This is a very abstract kind of topic. There is one topic which is abstract, generally in section A, and there is one topic which is current affairs based, generally in section B. All right. So these type of topics require the thinking ability. No doubt you will get the content of such topics, especially from that paper 4, ethics and integrity, right? And different other topics that you learn. But again, you should have that ability to think and come up with different arguments, right? So that is the requirement in essay paper in section A. Section B, you can see the topic here. Biased media is a real threat to Indian democracy. Now, this is current affairs based, right? UPSC has asked this question because, media somehow is coming up with a content which is biased somewhere, right? And that's why biased media is a real threat to Indian democracy. Media has to play a role of, you can say, a facilitator to bring different views on that platform. They themselves should not come up with a view. So biased media, that is the topic picked up by UPSC from the current events of India. So this is how section A would come up with some kind of abstract topic. Section B would come up with one topic from the current affairs. So you're not supposed to read anything different. What you read as part of GS 1, 2, 3, 4, and maybe your optional and the current affairs should suffice to write an effective essay on both the sections. GS paper 1, you can see here, assess the role of British imperial power in complicating the process of transfer of power during 1940s. Please understand, kya bola hai? Assess. What is being said here? Assess. So what is your assessment? Plain and simple question nahi hai. This is not a simple and plain question, right? So what were the complications in transfer of power in 1940s? What were? That would be pretty simple and straightforward question. But what is asked here? Assess. Your assessment. How you look at it. What is the role of British imperial power to complicate the things while transferring the power in 1940s? That means Indian independence, in short. So this kind of questions are asked where you have to apply your mind. You have to apply what you learned so far. Assessment dena yahan. You have to give the assessment, right? Paper 1, another question I have picked up. Do we have cultural pockets of small India all over the nation? Elaborate with examples. Do we have cultural pockets of small India all over the nation? It is asked to you. You have to reflect on this, right? And elaborate with examples. You have to give examples as well. Okay, I'm just discussing the nature of question. I'm not going to discuss about the answers. GS paper 2, the reservations of seats for women in the institutions of local self-government has had a limited impact on the patriarchal character of Indian political process. Comment. Now, you have to understand what is patriarchy. Patriarchy, dominance of men, right? And what kind of patriarchy we are talking about here? Patriarchy in Indian political process, right? So you should know what is patriarchy, right? You should know Indian political process in current affairs, what is going on. There's 50% reservation for women in the local bodies, that is Gram Panchayat, Panchayat Samiti, and municipal corporation, right? Even in Jilla Parishad, and then municipal corporations and Nagar Panchayats. So in these local bodies of urban and rural both, there is 50% reservation. But after getting that seat, right, a woman, is she able to perform effectively, or is it that on her behalf her husband is working? So this is what the crux of this topic is. So point is, you have to observe what is happening. You may not get everything in a book. So this is another important aspect. Learn as you go. Learn as you go. Observe things, and you can answer such questions. You may get content, but again, this question came earlier. Somebody will come up with an answer. The point is, you have to learn that art, because in your examination you may come up with some. You may face some other question, right, which requires you to reflect on it. You have to come up with some thoughts, your thoughts on that topic, right? So this is a question from GS paper 2. GS paper 3. Look at the question here. It is argued that the strategy of inclusive growth is intended to meet the objectives of inclusiveness and sustainability together. Comment on this statement. What is the question? Understand this. ये जो first part है, this first part is only a statement. I'm reading that again. First part is only a statement, right? See, it is argued that the strategy of inclusive growth is intended to meet the objectives of inclusiveness and sustainability together. This statement, it's a statement. What is the question? Comment on this statement. That means, what is your comment on that? That's why I said you should have that ability to develop that thinking. Okay, I'm not saying that the thinking has to be original. No, we are not scholar to come up with original thinking, but at least you should have some thinking based on what you read, right? So please understand, when the question is asked to you, comment, right? Comment on the statement. I see many people in the mains test series writing comment of a scholar. Is UPSC asking question to a scholar? No, it is asking question to you. Maybe you are only coming up with the comments of some scholar, but write it in your own words, like your comment. That is the expectation of commission. Please understand. Randomly putting the comments in the mouth of a scholar, that won't work. Comment on this statement. They're expecting your comment. So you should develop that ability to reflect on different topics that you see around you. Right? Okay. Now, GS paper 4. Questions of the type, what do you understand by? Questions on understanding of concepts, philosophies, and case studies. So I have talked about this little bit while discussing the structure of the examination. एक type जो दिखता है, what type do we see? What do you understand by? Again, that's like, what do you understand? Your reflection on that. What you think about it. इस तरह के questions, this type of questions we observe in the GS papers. And you would see similar kind of questions, or more elaborate, more requiring more in-depth analysis in any of the options that you choose. Right? Okay. So questions on understanding of concepts related to ethics and integrity, right? Philosophies of ethics, ethical philosophies, and then case studies. This is what we see in paper 4. Example of GS paper 4. See, what is meant by the term constitutional morality? What is meant by the term constitutional morality? How does one uphold constitutional morality? The first part of this question, the first sub-question, is quite straightforward. You have to come up with whatever the understanding of constitutional morality is that you learn from the books, right? But the second question is a little bit different. How does one uphold constitutional morality? Means what? How do you uphold constitutional morality as a citizen of India, right? So there is some kind of, again, a personal response type of question. Now here, clearly, what do you understand by probity in governance? What do you understand? Okay, there is a lot of content in the book, but what do you understand, right? Look at the other part. Based on your understanding, dekho, why would UPSC always keep this, your understanding? What do you understand? Comment. You are supposed to come up with something. Most of the people have that habit of bringing the content from the books directly, right? Without his or her own reflection, thinking on it. That is problematic. Commission ka expectation samjho. Understand the expectation of commission. If you don't understand this, you won't get marks. You'll get marks only when you understand what type of questions are being asked. So questions clearly want you to reflect, want you to come up with your own thinking. That's why मैंने जो previous slide पे दिखाया था, I showed that purposely twice. Ability to comprehend things rapidly. You should develop your thoughts, increase your horizons of thinking, apply your knowledge. I wasn't saying this to make things complicated. Not at all. It is the requirement of the examination. So what do you understand by probity in governance? Based on your understanding of the term, suggest measures for ensuring probity in government. And again, this is not very difficult. Not at all. Again, does that mean you are supposed to really come up with some kind of very heavy strategy? Something that will go to the level of PhD? Research? No, not at all. Only thing is, develop that habit of writing something, understanding something from your perspective, from the knowledge gained from different books. That's the simple expectation. That to develop that habit so that you don't need to think more in the examination hall. You are habitual to it. You will write directly. That will save time. If you go on thinking in the examination hall, already each question has roughly 8 to 9 minutes. उसमें thinking में time चला जाएगा. If you waste time on thinking on a particular question, that would really be problematic in the examination hall, right? So these are the examples as far as sample questions are concerned. Okay. Now let us talk about the approach to study. Right. So we talked about strategy. We talked about how we are supposed to study. Now, what all things we are supposed to do while studying for this examination? Number one, as I said, basic concepts are very, very important. Study of NCERT books is a must. You must study NCERT books. There is no escape. I know there are people who would say that you study only one book or two book or skip NCERT and go for reference books. That's problematic. That's problematic because because of two things. One, you are bypassing basic concepts, so you will come in trouble while studying reference books. Reference books assume that you know basic concepts. So if you start reading reference book directly, you will face a lot of difficulties and you will be clueless as to why you are not understanding. I'm reading something, I'm not able to understand that. You will start blaming yourself. That is wrong. You are not at the fault. Because you bypassed, your ability is not at the fault. Because you bypass the basic, that's the fault that lies in you, not your ability. You have the ability to understand, but you start with the basics first. So NCERT is the best source to study the basics. It is a must. Okay. Then study of selective standard reference books. Study selective standard reference books. Reference books must be standard. Why I'll tell you. These two sources, NCERT का एक फायदा मैंने बताया. I told you one important benefit of NCERT. Basics are clarified. NCERT books have very good, lucid, simple language, and different standard reference books have very good language, all right, and articulation. So one important expectation of the commission was what? Effective expression, articulation, right? Okay. And how do we learn it? From the books, standard books. If you buy someone's notes, only notes, right, that won't help you. If I prepare my notes, I give it to you. What is happening here? It is I who read the books and come up with my notes. I give it to you, right? So I have read the books. That's why only looking at the notes, I can articulate. I can write properly. The person who only looks at notes won't be able to articulate properly. See, notes is a problematic thing. Study material is important. That's why in Unique Academy, we generally say this, not notes, study material. And please understand, we generally give study material from the books. Right? Understand this. Notes, even if we give some kind of notes, micro notes, we encourage students to read the original books. Why I'm saying this with so much emphasis? Because I'm seeing many students right now who are appearing for the mains, they are not able to write properly. That is because they have not gone through the books. They only relied on XYZ's notes. That is problematic. You get notes, that's good enough, but you read the source. Then only you can articulate, you can write properly. Otherwise, your answers should be very vague. But the point, so yes, standard reference books and NCERT books never to be bypassed. You should always go through this. It's best thing to have your own micro notes, right? If not that, you can get it from somebody, but do not bypass reading books. All right, that's a problematic thing, because ultimately the crux of this examination lies in mains examination, and within mains examination, the written examination, which carries 1750 marks. To what extent you can write in a better manner, that would decide how much marks you score out of the 750, and that will decide how much higher rank you will have in the merit list. Try to understand this. Okay. Now, third, regular newspaper reading. You are supposed to do this, but again, after the study of NCERT books, because if you don't know the basic concepts, you will not understand different articles coming in newspapers. In order to understand the articles of newspapers or the magazines, you should know the basic understanding of any subject. So that's the reason why I'm saying that studying NCERT books is a precondition to these two things. First, you complete this, then only go for this standard different books and newspaper reading. Till then, you can avoid reading newspaper and reading. Only thing, if you think of reading newspaper, only thing that you can do is just get habitual to newspaper reading, right? While reading NCERT books, get habitual. Every day, I would like to read a newspaper, but do not expect much. Once you finish NCERT books, from that point onwards, you can expect more in terms of what you understand from the articles or different reading material that is coming in newspapers, right? I have talked about this, if you remember, multidisciplinary approach. When you pick up a particular topic or question or essay for that matter, you should have this approach. See, I'll tell you one thing. Pick any topic. Pick any topic. It has got certain dimensions. You pick any topic that has got political dimension, that has got social dimension, that has got economic dimension, that has got environmental dimension, that has got cultural dimension. So when you talk about any topic, it is inherently multidisciplinary. So it's always good to study in a multidisciplinary manner. जैसे मैंने थोड़ी देर पहले एग्जांपल दिया था. What example did I talk about? Poverty. Poverty, let us understand poverty from the perspective of different subjects. What is multidisciplinary? Involving multiple disciplines. Disciplines, subjects. Subjects. All right. Let us talk about poverty from different dimensions, different disciplines, subjects rather. Let us talk about poverty in India. Is there any kind of history of poverty of India? There is. Colonialism, British colonialism entailed, resulted in widespread poverty in India. You must understand it. Otherwise, it's not possible to understand why, even today, India is home to largest poor population in the world. So the historical background, very important, history. As I said, there is geographical angle to the poverty. If you look at the incidence of poverty, spatial incidence, that means in terms of space, in terms of geography, what are the pockets where we see widespread poverty? That is geographical angle of poverty. Right? Number three, there is social angle, no doubt about it. Poverty has got a lot of social implications. Okay. Number four, it has got political angle, because ultimately it's political system that is going to deal with eradication of poverty. And it has got the economics. Ultimately, it is economics that defines poverty, that comes up with various definitions, that comes up with the economic impacts, ill impacts rather, of the poverty on society as consequences, right? Okay, so all these dimensions are there. If you pick up the topic for study from all the dimensions, and one single note would help you in all papers. Even if you get essay on poverty, you can really write very good essay. So one single note, that is called integrated approach. Number one, multidisciplinary, bringing in multiple discipline subjects and then integrating them, creating one single source that would help you across subjects. That's wonderful. Why this is to be done? If this is not done, what will happen? Usko samjho. Try understanding. If you don't go this way, what are the problems? See, you will study poverty as part of history differently. You will study poverty as part of sociology differently. You will study poverty as part of polity differently, economics differently. That means you are going for multiple efforts, multiplication of efforts for the same topic. हर बार नया कुछ है ना उसके बारे में. Better thing is to finish that topic with all dimensions in one sitting with an integrated approach covering all the dimensions. So that type of study is really good. But this will happen only when you do certain basic things, right? Like reading books once, twice, thrice, preparing your micro notes, and then integrating it. Yeah, last stage. Hai. This is the last stage of preparation. Huh? Don't think that you will be able to do this right in the beginning. Not at all. Beginning is always with very simple things. Understand the concept. That's it. Huh? As far as preparation for mains examination is concerned, in the initial phase of the preparation, what dominates is reading. Reading dominates, writing nothing initially. Then gradually you will start underlining things, writing something in the margins of the book. Then prepare your micro note. Prepare your own micro note. That is where the writing will come. And that micro note, you can make it integrated, covering all the dimensions, all the disciplines concerning a particular topic. So this is how you are supposed to really understand. Last thing, learn effective articulation. Work on language. See, I'm telling you clearly upfront that this examination will judge your language. No doubt about it. And you tell me if I'm the evaluator, if I'm checking the paper, if I see same content in two answers, and one answer is effective in the articulation, which answer will get more marks? Please understand. Honorable Tukaram Jadhav sir already talked about this. This is the most toughest examination in India, second toughest in the world. That means you're struggling for every mark. You're struggling for every mark. That means there is a competition where people are, thousands of people are writing on same topic. Are they going to write anything differently? No, they're going to come up with same content. At least those who are in top 1,000 or 1,500. Then what makes the difference? Articulation makes the difference. In what way you are supposed to articulate? I have talked about it. So that effective articulation holds the key. So you have to work on language. How do you do that? You're not supposed to do anything different. Improvement of your language should happen automatically while you're doing all these things. Please pay attention. While reading NCERT books, while reading standard different books, while reading newspaper, try to see how sentences are formed, right? How sentences are constructed, and try to construct similar kind of sentences on your own. I'm not saying that your language should be exactly like newspaper or something like, no. At least you can learn some of the important ideas of constructing sentence effectively. NCERT books, for example, look at how a topic is opened in a chapter, how they open the topic, how they bring in examples, how they elaborate, how they explain, right? If you start paying attention to these aspects of the NCERT topics chapters, you can ultimately learn that effective articulation. You're not supposed to do anything different. So sentence construction. Another important thing, vocabulary. Vocabulary. You're not supposed to become Shashi Tharoor. Understand this. You need a sizable vocabulary which would enable you to articulate easily. There should not be struggle for the words. You are struggling for the words. What word am I supposed to use? That should not be the case. The simple thing is you should be able to express yourself in a very lucid manner, right? Flawlessly. That is the requirement. So bare minimum amount of words you would learn from these sources again. Do not ignore any word that you come across. Develop the habit of looking into dictionary every time. You're not supposed to again make some other diary to write the words. That's very tedious. All right. Those who are habitual to it, they can do it. But I find it tedious because, if I write meaning of a word in the diary, which is scattered one, there is no alphabetical order in that. How can I again find that word? So it's better to keep dictionary always with you. Look for the word every time you encounter that, every time you forget the meaning of it. So once, twice, thrice, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, 10th time, you don't need to look into the dictionary. So only one thing that you're supposed to do, always keep dictionary handy, and that will increase your vocabulary for sure. All right. And you may employ some certain other strategies as well to write in the diary and reading the diary every morning or before sleeping. That is again a good idea, but I give you another idea. All right. Newspaper reading itself would really increase your vocabulary a lot if you are consciously looking for different words. So while reading something, you should look at content, most important, obviously. You should look at the language, sentence construction language. Number three, new words, vocabulary. And one single source would give you all these things. You're not supposed to read anything else for that. So effective articulation, language really matters. So this is what you're supposed to do as part of your study. Now, the element of planning. See, this is the batch which is specifically formed for the examination 2022. So I'm talking about planning for 2022. Please understand this. You may think of 2021, but that's already too late. If you ask me honestly, if you have some kind of preparation, some kind of background of preparation, you can think of 2021. I'm not denying that, but already we are almost in the month of December now. You may get notification anytime in the month of December, January, because examination is scheduled in the month of June. So that means you're hardly 6 months or so, which is required for prelim preparation. And when will you do the mains preparation? It's a very bad idea to think about mains preparation after the prelims. Wrong. That is wrong because prelims and mains, the intervening period is very short, hardly 2.5, 3 months, 3.5 months at the most. In 3 months, you cannot cover the entire syllabus, including optional, right? Those 3 months must be only for revision, addition of current affairs in those months, and rigorous answer writing. If you keep study, the original study into that time span, that's a disaster. That's a disaster. Never think of preparation for mains after prelims. Never do that. Your preparation of mains must be done before starting the preparation for prelims. That is the only way out to deal with this examination, because once you get into the examination mode, you are left with no time. So preparation first and then only application for the examination. That's how you should go about it. Okay. So aiming for 2022, we have, I would say, enough time. I won't say we have a lot of time. No, enough time. Just enough, I would say. So you're not supposed to waste even a single day from this point onwards. What could be your plan? The rough plan, you can see that on your screen. So basics, that means NCERT reading 3 months. So you should read NCERT as early as possible. I'm saying 3 months. You may finish it off in 1.5 months, 2 months. That's very good. You will earn some days, right? So at least 2 readings of NCERT to understand the basic concepts. Right? 3 months. You can see it here, time frame December 2020 to January 2021. Then 8 dedicated months for mains preparation. 8 dedicated months for mains preparation, both GS and prelims. Keeping the syllabus in front of you. Keep the GS syllabus in front of you. Keep optional syllabus in front of you, and plan accordingly. What you are supposed to do in those 8 months, that you are supposed to decide. You may come up with a day-wise plan, or you may come up with a week-wise plan. What is that? In a day-wise plan, you may divide your day in slots: morning slot, afternoon slot, evening slot, night slot, right? So you can plan those slots. So morning slot, I will study optional. Afternoon slot, I would read newspapers. Evening slot, I would pick up one GS subject and then another GS subject night, something like that. If your mentality is something like, I want to study one subject in a complete day, I don't want changing subjects like this. These people, those who have preference for one subject in whole day, they can plan weekly, right? 3 days for optional, 4 days for GS, and everyday current. That is, there is no escape for that. Right? So these two things you can think of, and you can look at the chunk of syllabus for a particular subject, and you can give days, number of days. So history is a big chunk because it covers art and culture, Indian national movement, modern history, and then post-independence and history of modern world, right? So that's a big chunk. So maybe 45 days. Geography, maybe again 40-45 days. Sociology, social issues, maybe 15-20 days. Likewise, you can decide based on the chunk of syllabus, right? So this is how you're supposed to prepare your own plan for those 8 months. 8 months mains preparation, thorough mains preparation. It is always my suggestion to keep dedicated time slot for rigorous answer writing. Once you are done with the syllabus, once you are completely done with the syllabus, understanding of it, micro notes, right? Then is the time for rigorous answer writing. Hmm? While you are doing the mains preparation, you can pick up one or two questions and try and write answers in an open book manner, keeping book in front of you. That you can do for the practice sake. But once you finish the mains preparation, you should have at least couple of months for rigorous answer writing. That means you should do the practice as if you are in the examination hall. एग्जामिनेशन हॉल में जो क्लाइमेट होता है उस तरह से पेपर सॉल्व करना. Solve the papers like examination for 2 months. Take a test series and do this rigorous answer writing. Right? Get it evaluated. Huh? Try to find your flaws. Work on that. Go for another test. So test 1, 2, 3, 4 test series. This is very important because I have been talking about this, that the writing part of this examination carries 1750 marks. And if you're not giving a dedicated session for answer writing, that's a blunder. That's a blunder. Right? It doesn't require an expert to come up and say this. We can see that, right? 750 marks are carried by the written examination. You should have a rigorous answer writing session. All right. So this is how we can plan October, November 2021. Right. And then prelim preparation with test series can be started with December 2021 up to June, the month of June. We have prelims examination. So this is how you can plan properly. This is just enough time. Just enough time. And please understand, while you're preparing for the mains, your preparation for prelims has already started. Only thing is, from December onwards, you're supposed to give that MCQ orientation to what you have read. Okay, what is the syllabus of prelims? There is history, there is geography, there is economics, there is science and technology, there is environment and ecology, right? There is current affairs. All these topics, without a single exception, all these topics are there in the mains syllabus as well. So when you're preparing for mains, you're automatically preparing for prelims as well. Only thing is, when you go into that prelim preparation slot, you're supposed to bring that mentality of solving MCQ. That's it. So revision and orientation, prelim orientation and practice. Three things precisely, along with the current affairs. So this is how you can prepare effectively. If you are really seriously thinking about cracking examination in one attempt, this is the plan you should follow. Because this plan gives a dedicated slot for every requirement of the examination. And you should work on this dedicatedly. Every day, 10 to 12 hours of study is something that we expect. Irrespective of what you do, classes and all that, you should take out at least 8 to 10 hours a day. So this is the plan for the mains examination 2022, right? Okay. Now, what we do as part of the batch, you can see that on the screen. There is classroom teaching involving thorough discussions, and right now, because we are facing this COVID pandemic situation, which is unprecedented for the entire world, not just for us, we have come up with interactive classrooms. It's just like a physical classroom, right? Only thing is, the way we are talking now, we would be talking, you'll be in the classroom. You can talk to me or any teacher directly, right? That is possible in the virtual classroom, right? So virtual two-way communication. It's not that you're only looking at the video. You can't ask a question to the teacher. It's not that. In our online classrooms, you can ask questions to the teacher. You can get the answers directly. So that interaction is possible, two-way interaction, right? So classroom teaching involving thorough discussions with the interaction, no doubt about it. Second aspect, answer writing sessions. There are dedicated answer writing sessions for different subjects. Then extensive dedicated current affairs sessions. Please understand. As part of batch, there would be extensive dedicated current affair sessions, right? Already we are doing this in general as well, but as part of batch, it's more extensive. You will get more content. Jawad Kaji sir and Shivaji Kale sir, they are doing online current sessions, but the current sessions of batch would be very different. You can feel the difference later on. Next, as part of the batch itself, test series and critical evaluation with detailed feedback. Critical evaluation with detailed feedback. All right. So this is what you get as part of test series. Very, very important, because if you write a test and only you get some marks on that and no feedback, what is lacking in the answer. That's not checking. That is not evaluation. What is critical evaluation? What is missing in your answer? That must be explicitly written. And you should get a detailed feedback about your answer sheet. So that is what we do here as part of UPSC batch, 1 year integrated batch. Interaction with successful candidates as and when possible, right? Our students are there working in different states and different departments. So as and when they get time, we organize sessions with our students. Then interview preparation and mock interview with critical feedback. It is part of the batch. Understand this. So interview preparation and mock interview with critical feedback. It is part of batch. But this happens when you qualify. When you qualify, our students are allowed to sit in the interview preparation batches, and they're allowed to get into the mock interviews, practice mock interviews with critical feedback. We generally make a video of it, and you can watch your own video, and you can understand what mistakes you are committing while you are into the interview. So these are the things we do as part of a batch in Unique Academy. Obviously, general studies, all the subjects are taught. Current affairs dedicatedly taught. I told you the list of optional subjects already, right? So this is what we do as part of a batch in Unique Academy. So all the aspects of examination are covered. Right? This is what I intend to discuss part of this webinar. I'm done with my content. All right. If you have any questions, I can take it up. Thank you so much.
Subscribe the Unique Academy's YouTube channel and press the bell icon for latest updates and videos.